Hello and welcome to the Minutes to Win It podcast. I'm Big Italy 42. He is Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. Talking about tonight's big time 12-game slate and talking about some minutes. First, talking about some injuries and potential fallouts from things like that. We've got a couple things to be concerned with here. We've got Matthew Dellavedova is listed as a game time decision. Mo Williams is back, so this is more of talking about Mo Williams than it is about Dellavedova. I mean, he's kind of just the filler guy, and obviously Mo Williams, a guy who has upside. He doesn't have a very good floor, but if Dellavedova can't play, expects that he's going to see a ton of minutes. So we're probably thinking mid-30s here, but we've seen this Cavs offense, evolve into defer to Kevin Love first kind of mentality. So, it's a situation where I'd be fine playing Mo Williams in some tournaments, assuming that he's going to lock into those big minutes. But I'm still expecting most of the production to come from Kevin Love, then LeBron James, then everyone else.
Yeah, he's just too low on the list for me to consider in cash games. I know his price tag is nice, but if he has 35 minutes tonight, I think that's a good spot for him. Nice matchup. Should be pretty high scoring. I think it's going to be close. I think there's a lot of actual viable fantasy options in this game, but definitely just more reserved for tournaments.
Yeah. DeMarcus Cousins listed as doubtful for tonight's game, coming off a game against Charlotte where we put up 53.75 DK points in 31 minutes. And then you see fools on Twitter trash talking him because he got hurt after he got him 50 points. I hate that, by the way. But either way, Obvious benefactors from this one going to be Rudy Gay. Going to see bigger usage rate. He's really fairly priced. Hasn't been great this season, but had a good game last time out. Obviously, he'll be the focal point of the offense if Cousins doesn't go, and it looks like he won't. Rajon Rondo's been incredible as well. So I prefer to have Rondo, personally, when you've got a guy like DeMarcus Cousins. They work so well together because Cousins is so dominant down low. I like to have the option with Rondo, putting him in good spots and him scoring down low. But at the same time, Rondo's been so good at getting everyone involved recently that I think he's still a viable play, but for me, more so on FanDuel than DraftKings with that big price difference.
Yeah, 9,300 is just too pricey for me on DK. But, the guy's been just a triple-double threat each night. The guy's averaging, 40 assists a game right now? It's just crazy. So I love Rondo in tournaments. I think Cousins kind of hurts him just a little bit not being out there, but just because Rondo's not really known for his scoring. But if him and Gay can get a nice partnership going, definitely like both of them tonight.
Yeah. Next up, Luol Deng, doubtful, not expected to play for tonight. There's not a whole lot to see here. We could see guys like Goran Dragic take on a little bit more of the offense, but he's been really inconsistent. Justice Winslow may get the start. We've seen him be upwards of 30 minutes many times this season anyway, but he's not a guy that looks to contribute on the offensive end. He's just not a guy. He's a guy that'll soak up minutes. Maybe if he plays 32, 35 minutes, he hits value. But this is not a guy they're relying on to produce on the offensive end. So just not a guy that I'm really excited about here.
Yeah, his floor is just way too low. Even if he gets upwards of 30 minutes, there's too many other guys in the pricing range that I like better.
Yeah, exactly. So just not a guy that I'm going out of my way for. We're seeing now Channing Frye is going to start at the 4, moving Tobias Harris to the 3, Evan Fournier back to the 2, and Oladipo off the bench. So see a little bump in minutes there for Channing Frye. Still not a guy that I ever really love playing. You look at his minutes recently, 7, 10, 7, 16, 23. This isn't a guy that's going to come out here despite starting and play 30 minutes. I just don't see any scenario where that happens. We're looking at probably low to mid-20s at absolute best here. I don't know if this is Scott Skiles just trying to make a fool of himself or he wants to spark off the bench, whatever it is. I don't understand it. I like Evan Fournier going back to the 2 rather than playing the 3. But aside from that, I'm just not a Channing Frye fan. And then he gets Kristaps Porzingis tonight, so that'll be a fun matchup for him.
Yeah, he's just not the most viable DFS coach. He was in Portland. It was just a mystery as well some nights, and he's doing the same thing in Orlando there. And looking at Frye, like you said, 20 minutes max, maybe even if he starts. It's just not an option. Oladipo's going to come back off the bench, and he's still going to get his 30 minutes. It's just going to be a different route.
Yeah, exactly. And then now we'll go a little bit by positions after we've kind of covered the injuries for tonight. Point guard options. There's a lot of them tonight that you feel good about. I love Kemba Walker. It's still a tough matchup, but The guy's been incredible, and it's not just the last game where he absolutely exploded, but he's been shooting the ball very, very well over his last 5 or 6 games here. Still kind of underpriced. He did get a nice little price bump on DraftKings. He was in the mid 6Ks there for a while. They realized that was a little bit too much of a gift, so they bumped him up. But still a guy against John Wall that John Wall's a good defender, but we've seen this many times with John Wall also where you see it turn into a point guard versus point guard battle, try to outdo the other guy. And we saw that with Kemba against Rondo the last game. So until Walker cools off at his current price tag, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I really like him. He's playing big minutes. He's got some great matchups over the last few games. He's really been able to take advantage of him. Like you said, I don't think Wall's a tremendous defender because he's a good peripheral stats guy, which makes him look good. But I mean, overall, Washington defensively hasn't been great this season.
Yeah, it's been that Washington team. I mean, John Wall's production just hasn't been where we'd like it to be. A guy that I'm a big fan of, and I know you are as well, and probably not a guy that's going to be really popular, but you and I both love him because he has a really high floor, even when he's not producing offensively. Last game shot 2 for 11, still managed 37.75 DraftKings points. Kyle Lowry, fairly priced everywhere. I mean, we're talking cheaper than Rondo, significantly cheaper than Westbrook, cheaper or right around Chris Paul, John Wall, guys like that. And, I mean, he's got a great matchup against whether it be Mo Williams, Matthew Dellavedova. It doesn't really matter in that backcourt for Cleveland. None of those guys very good defenders. So, Kyle Lowry, one of my favorite plays at any position tonight.
Yeah, and, looking at minutes, I mean, the guy's been playing upwards of 30 minutes a game. I mean, he's averaging 35 this season. Probably because he's going to see 37, 38 tonight. And, like I said, I mean, this game is actually going to be pretty juicy for fantasy, despite being one of those Eastern Conference games. It's going to be a battle. But I love Lowry tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Moving over to shooting guard. Shooting guard's one of those positions that just doesn't look great tonight, but I'll say a guy who's been absolutely on fire, and I know you know where I'm going with this one, Avery Bradley. Under 6K on DraftKings, right around 6K on FanDuel. I mean, the guy has been just nothing short of tremendous recently. Now he faces off against Philly. Good luck with that Philly defense slowing down really anyone, but I mean, Bradley's been one of the hotter scorers on the planet right now, and obviously with Marcus Smart out, now he's back in the starting lineup, being locked into bigger minutes. I mean, you look at his last couple games, and he only played 30 last night, but has scored 38 fantasy points, so expect him to be in the 30-plus range, and maybe even more if Philly finds a way to keep this one close.
Yeah, I mean, you look at those last two games. I mean, Atlanta blew him out last night, Brooklyn blew him out the game before, and he still put up monster points. And I mean, Avery Bradley's not always been the best shooter, but right now he is in a great shooting rhythm, especially from three. And it looks like Brad Stevens is encouraging him to take those 3 shots. So it's nice to see. I think Bradley's a great play tonight. Love his price because we're not really paying up at shooting guard anyway.
Yeah, no, not tonight. Doesn't seem like the night for that. Elsewhere, shooting guard, there's really not a whole lot that really stands out for me. Outside of that, it's going to be going with some punt plays, but nobody I feel great about. You got Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, who's been playing really, really well recently. He's very cheap. He's a shooting guard on DraftKings, a small forward on FanDuel. But last game, 2 for 3 from the field and scored 35 fantasy points. So that's exactly what we're looking for in a perfect cheap cash game play. Guy that does not need to score and isn't even really looking to score, but gives you a nice high floor.
Yeah, I mean, you got to love him like a workhorse. I mean, he just doesn't score. 8 steals in the last 2 games there, rebounds well. He's just all over the court. I mean, great player, one of those guys you love to have on your team, and a guy who's, can be a lockdown defender. I think he's going to be one for a long time.
Yeah, I got to say, though, I don't know if you've seen the tattoo thing, but no.
Tattoo thing?
Look, I'll save it for you and everyone else watching this. Look up the Rondae Hollis-Jefferson tattoo thing on Twitter and try not to shake your head. It's nothing inappropriate. Don't worry about that. It's just, oh my God, why do this to yourself? But either way, I'll save that one for everyone. Small forward tonight. It's hard not to love guys like Kawhi Leonard, especially if Aldridge sits. He's questionable for tonight. But if you just want that high floor for mid 8Ks, you can get that easily. 35-ish floor. Upside, as we saw last game against the Suns, is certainly there for Kawhi Leonard as well. So if you're paying up, it makes sense to go with him. But Rudy Gay is going to be probably the most popular play, and rightfully so. I mean, he hasn't been tremendous this year, but still averaging 30 fantasy points a game. Obviously, we've talked about DeMarcus Cousins likely to be out. This game should be close till the end. He should be playing 35 upwards of 40 minutes, played 42 last game. Obviously, the game went to overtime, so those numbers are a little bit skewed. But this is a guy that's going to play big minutes, and he's going to be the focal point of the offense.
Yeah, I really like Rudy Gay. I mean, even when Cousins has been here, he's been actually pretty solid. I mean, you're looking at games in the 30s, mid-30s there for fantasy point production. I think, his upside is definitely higher now with Cousins doubtful tonight. Also, another name, Nicholas Batum. We know Washington's weak spot is small forwards. We saw that with Paul George last night. We've seen it all season long. Questionable, but more than likely probable tonight, just with the stomach illness. So he should play. Definitely a tournament play, though, just because I'd rather have Rudy Gay.
Yeah, I'm completely with you there. Moving over to power forward, Anthony Davis, the guy that we're not seeing a whole lot of talk about. Doesn't matter how many times someone's burned you in the past. You got to have a short memory in DFS. And, I mean, last time he burned people, it wasn't a bad game. He got hurt, so wasn't able to play. Then made a little surprise comeback. And just to put in perspective, his last 3 full games he's played, 36-11 with 4 blocks, 20-18 with 2 blocks, and 32-19 with 4 blocks. So, guy's still pretty damn good when he's on the court, and you don't anticipate injuries and worry about if players are soft. All that just makes no sense. So you got to play the best players at the best spots, and he's facing off against a Phoenix front court that there's no great defenders. I mean, you got Alex Len down there; it's a pretty good defender, but that's it. I mean, there's nobody you're worried about really with any front court, but this one in particular. I mean, Markieff Morris against Anthony Davis. Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's just an unfair matchup. I mean, Tyson Chandler, Len, Morris. I mean, Davis's size and skill over all 3 of those guys, and we saw it last game when he went 32-19 with 4 blocks and 2 steals against Phoenix. I mean, he has that upside once again tonight, and I think, looking at the top price guys with Westbrook and Durant back, Harden not in a great matchup, you got to like Anthony Davis as the top superstar play.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Kevin Love, another guy we were mentioning earlier. He's the focal point of the Cavs offense, and the guy's been phenomenal recently. In fact, shot over 60% each of his last 2 games. His last 3 DK totals, 47, 46, 54. He's been very consistent. Another one of those situations where he's facing off against the front court that you look at this team and you don't see anyone that you say, well, this guy's going to give Kevin Love some trouble because he can stretch the floor, doesn't need to be close to the basket, he can shoot from downtown. Kevin Love can kind of do it all, and we've seen LeBron James making a conscious effort to get Kevin Love the ball as much as possible.
Yeah, just because Kevin Love's so versatile on offense, I mean, he's almost matchup proof, I guess you could say. Toronto's kind of limited points, but I mean, Love, the way he's shooting the ball, the way he's shooting a 3 ball, especially, I mean, you got to love him for his price, and I think he brings an upside and a safe floor that we've seen this season. Almost like we travel back to the Minnesota days.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of Kevin Love from then and now, and it's hard not to be. Kristaps Porzingis finally getting big minutes, played 37 and 36 last 2 games, and all he did was absolutely dominate in really 2 matchups that weren't ideal. 24 and 14 against Houston, 20 and 14 against Miami. Now he faces off against Channing Frye and company. Another great matchup for, a guy who, it's going to be a hell of a race for Rookie of the Year this year. We got a ton of guys, Okafor, Towns, Porzingis, all these guys playing just tremendous basketball, and his price is starting to get up there, but really the only reason why we weren't flocking to play him as much as possible was his minutes. He was playing mid-20s a minutes, but it seems like the Knicks finally realized if you want to win basketball games, this guy needs to be on the court, and he's their best player. Sorry, Carmelo Anthony. Sorry, not sorry. He's their best player. They need to get him the ball, and they've been doing that.
Yeah, he's played 37 minutes in Miami. They handedly won that game, so that was really encouraging to see him even in that type of game where it was a blowout. 36 against Houston, 14 rebounds the last 2 games. The guy's just phenomenal. At this price, how can you not lock him into lineups right now? It's just crazy.
Yeah,
especially going forward.
Yeah, it's phenomenal how good this guy's been. Moving over to center here, final position, obviously. Looking at some guys, Hassan Whiteside was questionable. Looks like he's probably going to be a go tonight. He's had the upside, but he hasn't had the floor. His minutes have been inconsistent. Not a guy that I'm rushing out to play here. But you do have some guys that are really good spots. You got Karl Anthony Towns because he's any athletic big man against Atlanta. Obviously a spot you want to continue to target. Already had 1 good game against them, and this is obviously not just a game log play. Atlanta, third worst rebound differential in the league. I love Karl Anthony Towns. He's my favorite dollar per dollar center on the board tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And if you want to look at a previous game, Marc Gasol triple-double against Houston this last time out. Definitely in play because Houston's been bottom 5 in defensive efficiency, so you kind of like Memphis on the back-to-back if you want some cheaper options because, I mean, Conley, Gasol, they've both been consistently getting it done of late.
Yeah, and then Jahlil Okafor, another guy who's been good. Had a couple down games against Charlotte and Indiana, but Minnesota, Miami, 2 less than ideal matchups against mostly Towns and Whiteside. Now, had great games, and now he gets the Boston front court. That good team defense, but no elite defenders down low. So Okafor was the forgotten man the other day while we all got burned by the foul trouble by Karl Anthony Towns. But kudos to you if you were the person that played Okafor because that was the difference that night.
Yeah, and you got to look, I mean, Boston, better rebounding team than last year, but they're still not great. They're still league average. Okafor, his usage rate is just through the roof. I believe he leads rookies now among usage rates, so got to love his price tag.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to wrap things up for us here for the Minutes to Win It. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got lots of other great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.